Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner. And we're expecting Trev at some point, I believe. At least he hasn't called out just yet. When he comes in, he'll be in that new spot there. Maybe until he does come back. Let's go ahead and change this up a little bit. Look how fancy we're getting right here on Ref the District. Going to be another long show, everyone. It's lots to talk about here, as there are a lot of updates to and non-updates to the sale pending that we'll be talking about here in the warm-up. In the cool down, we're going to be going over some of the options at 16. Everything's on the plate according to our coach and everybody else. They're saying that it's gonna be everything's open. So that's what we're gonna be talking about. We're gonna give specific names and have to decide if that's who we would take. Of course, we'll encourage comment section to go wild on that one. And then the bulk of it is going to be Rivera's comments during the game. Some that I think are kind of overblown, and some comments that you can actually take some very good nuggets from. Trev joining us here in our new setup. Trev, seeing this for the first time as well.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Our warm-up is sponsored by Don't Sleep Energy. That's right. You can go out to don'tsleepenergy.com. Use the code REFTHEDISTRICT. Get yourself 10% off the entire order. The sugar-free is back in stock.
Yes.
Brand favorite, show favorite, sugar-free Don't Sleep Energy is back in stock. So don't sleep on AJ Perez, guys. He's been all over this sales stuff. And right now he is kind of clowning a person who just recently, I don't have the name in front of me.
Charles Gasparino.
Gasparino, who's like, Mark Cuban's interested. Mark Cuban's like, nope, not interested. Had breaking news to his own scoop. Breaking news, I was wrong. Kind of a mess there, but there have been some good nuggets, gentlemen, as far as that's concerned. I mean, even Jason Wright answering the question is the sale going to happen? And he's like, yeah, it's going to happen. Like, I get that there's skepticism, is what Jason said, but it's moving. It's pending. Obviously, it's not yet sold, but seems pretty optimistic. And I'm actually going to stick on this particular note just for a second before we get to some of the juicier tidbits. Jason Wright's a guy who sounds like, and this was the kind of the feeling we had after our interview with him, that he's a guy who's going to be sticking around. Is that what you believe, Stoner?
That what I believe?
Yes.
I mean, who's to know, really, when you have you have no idea what's going on with the different owners and who's going to be the owner, which ownership group is going to win, which ownership group is actually bidding. But if Jason wants to stick around, I think he does. And I think he's very good at what he does. So I would hope that he sticks around. He's had some screw ups here and there. He knows it. And he wants to fix all of those things. But I think he wants to stick around. And I think it would be smart of the organization, the new ownership, to have somebody who's been around for the rough times to be able to guide them through a transition at the very least.
Yeah. How about you, Trev? Is there anybody, Jason Wright included, that you want to keep around in the next regime?
Jason Wright, for sure, hands down. Just like Stoner was saying up there, I'm gonna piggyback on that. He's been there. He started pretty much the culture change that Ron was talking about when he was hired by Dan Snyder and company. So I think it would be smart for the new ownership to at least retain him, to kind of like hold their hand along this transition, say, don't do that. You can touch this, but you can't have that. You know what I mean? Like, that would be straight. Other than that, I don't know, below him, that's whatever. But I mean, I feel like Jason Wright deserves a shot at least to be looked at to stay on with this new ownership. I mean, he said he's met some of them and they've kind of, got to know each other a little bit already. So he doesn't feel like they're, whatever. But yeah, he should stay. I think he should.
I would not be surprised in the least to see a cleaned house, right? Like, maybe not this year, but the next year kind of, like, okay, you guys have been here. We didn't like it. We're going to go ahead and go with our own people. Sure. Maybe keeping on a few. You got to remember that the stat that was just eye popping to me in our Jason Wright interview was an 80% turnover.
Mm.
So that means this organization could again experience that kind of level of turnover. And I think it's very interesting in that regard to see how it goes. I think Jason Wright absolutely will stay on for at least the transition period. And then like I said, I would not be surprised at all to see that change happen later. We got a lot of good comments here. Real progress in action being shown right now. I would bet this team with an owner with money, these guys would not be bad at all. There is that feeling that this team is ready to turn around, and if you put some money into it, and that's one of the reasons why this franchise is being valued at $6 billion. Now, one of the other interesting tidbits here that kind of came out in that regard, gentlemen, was that right now there was a couple earlier this week. There was multiple bidders putting in offers. And now we're hearing that it really is only the Harris Group who has a real bid in, and it's not even $6 billion. It's $5 billion and can be to $6 billion if conditions are met. Stoner. What do you make of kind of this mixed reporting? And this is something that was Jason and Miss Medina kind of talked to us about during before that interview. Was people are kind of who don't know what they're talking about are tweeting things out and reporting on things that aren't true.
Yeah.
What do you make of kind of like this misdirection and like why are we having such a hard time getting quality information on this?
Well, because it's high level banking / money / I don't know exactly how to put it. We don't have any business knowing about exactly what's going on behind these closed doors. We're all just a bunch of people asking the same questions of the same people, and we're not getting all of the same answers because nobody really knows anything. The only people that really know anything are the people who are close to Dan and close to the ownership groups in the NFL and the banking people. Those are the only people who really know. Even when Adam Schefter puts something out, Adam Schefter put out yesterday that there are 2 groups that have official bids upwards of about $6 million. And we know that to be the Josh Harris group and the newcomer, the Stevie A and the Papadopoulos guy, right? And then you come back with AJ Perez, who we love and who's been all over from the beginning. He says, no, it's really just the Josh Harris group that has an actual bid in there. And then could possibly be a mystery bidder. Who's that? Is that the Fertitta? Is that the Jeff Bezos? Is that the Brian Davis? Nobody knows exactly what's going on. This much we know, boys, that they are selling the team and Dan Snyder is going to make an absolute buttload of money, which is incredible as to what he's done with this organization over the years and how it's fallen on hard times, not hard times. It's just fallen in terms of how people view the franchise. And he's still going to make just a ton of money. No matter how in debt he is, he's going to make a ton of money. He's going to be rich beyond belief.
Yeah. At one point, the Washington Redskins franchise was the most valued sports franchise in the world. Not NFL franchise, not in the United States, in the world. It was the Washington Redskins franchise that was under when Dan Snyder bought it, and he's managed to tank it to, I think it's now like 8th, still in the top 10, largely by
the
market.
NFL or 8th
in the NFL, in the NFL,
8th in the NFL.
But they're I think like the top 3 in the NFL. I'd have to look at the Forbes list again. I think the top 3 in the NFL are within like the top 10 in the world. And so, it's kind of, amazing that he's devalued it that much, but it's still the NFL. So it's still going to end up getting a lot of money. Someone trying to get into that and doing a little, RG meing is RG3, who didn't want to talk about it because nothing in stone, but then kind of like let it out of the bag that he's working with the Harris Group as kind of to be a part-time owner. Trev, your facial reactions here are great. Let's hear it from you first. RG3, part of the ownership crew. What do you think?
RG3, either you're riding with us or you're not. Just a year or two ago, you wrote a book ready to tell the whole story about how they treated you so wrong and bad and terrible your time there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you just decided not to let it out because you wanted to play backup quarterback for the Washington Commanders when we were in a quarterback controversy a year or two ago. Then you're like, nah, they need me in the booth. I'm going to stay in the booth. And now you want to come back as part owner.
What's wrong with that?
We good, dog. We good. No, we good. We good.
He wants to be part of the change.
The man can't even analyze anything on TV without having to put his glasses on and then taking them off. It's all about him, bro. He doesn't care about this. He only cares about his name in this.
Okay.
I mean, if it happens, so be
how
it.
How does that affect you?
It's not going to stop me from going to games.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it's like, why is it even news? Number one, it doesn't have to be news. If it was for real happening, you wouldn't be on Twitter talking about it. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't let you be on Twitter being like, hey, go tell them you're a part of this, but don't tell them everything, but just tell them you're a part of it. Like, come on, bro. Like Magic Johnson hasn't even come out and said anything about it. His name is in the group with Josh Harris. That might not even be true. We don't know that. He hasn't said anything.
That's
so
true.
Just saying. RG3, man, either you ride with us from the beginning or you don't at all. Stop trying to put your hand in everything like Ray J, and just stay to yourself.
I'm okay. I'm okay with him coming on as
a why?
Because why not? Because this is a whole new ownership group. This is not part of the Dan Snyder regime anymore.
He was part of it though.
If he had a problem with what was going on with the Dan Snyder regime, which is why he was going to write the book, but somebody bought him off probably, right? Why wouldn't he then be good as part of a new group that's coming in?
It's not about him being good. He just wants money. He's broke.
Okay.
He's not broke.
If he's broke, how was he going to get in? But I mean, if he gets in, he's going to be such a small investor in the entire deal. He's not going to have any say on what goes on with the franchise. He's just going to be somebody who can sit there and say, I own a piece of the Washington Commanders and I'm cooler than you and I'm better than you. Well, he says that every day, like you said, Trev. So I'm okay with it. I don't have any problem with it. He brings what? He brings two things. The same thing we talked about with Magic Johnson, to a lesser extent. He brings a minority face to an NFL franchise, and he brings cachet. Whether you like him or not, his Q rating is way up here compared to if they were to bring in some guy you never heard of.
How do we know that?
What do you mean?
If we never heard of the guy, how do we know that RG3 would be better than the guy we never heard of? How do we know that?
I'm not saying better. I'm saying his Q rating. I'm saying his popularity is going to bring more eyes.
We don't need popularity.
Sure you do. You do. That's how you get better.
We need better culture inside, not somebody who kind of participated and said culture back then too. Just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Not a good look. But go ahead.
No, well, I'm just saying he's kind of like the Magic Johnson to a lesser extent. He brings cash. He brings the eyeballs. He brings
nothing
legitimacy. No, I think he'd be good for it, to be honest.
I think he'd be essentially a prop, right? Is what it is.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not bringing money.
So with Magic.
What? Yeah. Well, yes. I think Magic has a little bit more money, so I think he's bringing a little bit more money to the table.
So he can get 1% as opposed to RG3 can get 0.25% of the team.
Yes.
It's still that much of the team, but he's face. It's like we all want Jeff Bezos to buy the team. Why? Because he's Jeff Bezos. He's the richest guy in the world. What does that have to do with how the franchise is going to be run? We don't know.
He runs other companies.
He's a name recognition.
What's RG3 ever done to prove that he deserves to be a part ownership of anything? Besides
he hasn't done anything. He doesn't have to do anything. He just has to give money.
That's all I'm saying. He just wants his name on that. He doesn't care about the
He brings eyeballs. He brings
negative eyeballs.
What does Magic Johnson do?
He owns the Dodgers.
He owns this much of the
I don't care.
Dodgers.
He has some stake in the Lakers. He's done this before. He's actually been accomplished in his sports career. What is RG3 on?
So give him a chance.
Cool.
So give RG3 a chance. Just
No,
like Magic had to get a chance.
He can't even get a call back to be an emergency quarterback from a team who has thrown out Garrett Gilbert out there.
That's
Cam
totally
Newton got a
different.
second chance before RG3 did. Okay, so that has nothing to do with his the fate. We don't need his popularity. We have that already with Magic Johnson. Why you want to add to with RG3?
That's a different ownership group, though. That's a different ownership group.
Harris? Right? He tries with the Harris.
He's tying in with the Harris group.
Yeah. Okay, my bad. So he isn't with
the front runner there. I agree with Michael here. Doug Williams was the name recognition hire. Doug Williams is the guy who's going to get replaced in all this, right? Ooh. This is essentially they're saying Doug's going to, in my opinion, I'll say that. In my opinion, if you're talking about Magic Johnson or RG3 kind of coming in and being kind of the spokesperson, the pushed forward, they're going to the new group would diminish Doug Williams' role.
That's interesting take.
And the current group, right? Jason Wright and everybody have kind of pushed Doug Williams because of the history he has with this team.
Yeah.
And that's where I think like an RG3 kind of comes into play here is they're trying to cash in on that 2012 season and his continued popularity, whether or not that's, good popularity, bad popularity.
He's not popular with Trev, but he's popular in this world.
Here's the thing. When you're talking about moving the needle on anything, you want people to have strong emotions. Either you love them or you hate them because that's engagement, right? And that's what this team would be looking for is that engagement. They want fans to be passionate about it. Doug Williams is probably like a 5 on the scale. Most people are just like, yeah, it's Doug Williams, right? Like
around here,
we love Doug Williams because of obvious the fact that he won a Super Bowl. Sorry, I'm getting feedback, so I muted Trev in the middle of him trying to say something. But but realistically, like he's not exciting enough to kind of move the needle a little bit, right?
So we're talking about Doug still?
Doug, yeah. So RG3 brought a lot of excitement and a lot of hate thereafter when he didn't work out. Magic Johnson would be a guy that I think people would love universally unless you like just really hate the Showtime Lakers.
Right, which not many people do.
No, and so RG3 would do enough though to kind of be that front runner. And one thing he does have over either of those two is he has youth, and this is something that maybe not the fan base is lacking, but the ownership would want to start bringing in. They can't rest their laurels on a bunch of people who remember Doug Williams winning a Super Bowl because those people aren't going to be around buying tickets. They need the young movement to come in, and RG3 would bring in a younger generation with his TikToks, with his new life, and all sorts of.
I think the only people that hate the idea of RG3 being in this ownership group are just the people that are mad at him for his time here as a quarterback, because he just doesn't have any effect other than that on an ownership situation. It's just a small role. It's just you'll hear about it when it happens, if it happens, and then you'll probably never hear about it again. And he'll sell like 3 years later and make a ton of money, and we won't even hear about him selling his stake in the team.
All right,
it'll
Trev,
just kind of go away.
Gus Bus is right. Trev would bring in more of the younger generation than RG3. We need to get Trev in on the ownership group. That'd be legit. So I think RG3 might be going the route of another player, and I'm going to see if I can't bring up that person's name, who owns a little bit of the team. And I remember reading the article here of who it was. I'll see if I can't figure it out. It's not. He owns. It was a former player. Might not have been the NFL. It's a former player who invested in the team, just a small percentage, but it's been paying him more than his career ever would have.
Which team?
And again, I can't remember. I was trying to look it up, but I think that's essentially what RG3 is doing, right? Like he knows that owning even 1%,
Yeah.
or maybe not even one, because it's like $60 million, a quarter of 1%
Yeah.
of an NFL team means that he's going to be making, money hand over fist. He doesn't even have to do anything.
Right.
It's a smart move by him. He obviously very publicly tried to corral people to put in a bid. And you have some wild things going on, such as Brian Davis here, Uptown Dre, bringing up the Brian Davis and his so-called investors have $9 billion for the team and stadium.
Well, we don't know how serious that rumor is.
Yeah,
or that
I'm gonna go with the latest, which is the Harris Group is the only serious bet.
Yeah,
or not bet, but bid for the Commanders right now.
Yep.
Yeah,
and I think you can put
capital ready to be accepted.
I think you can put Stevie A in there, the Canadian guy. I think you can put him in there as also having a bid. No matter what, they are getting sold. The team is getting sold. It is going to happen at some point. Even Schefter said it's going to happen probably. He didn't say for sure.
The agreement.
Probably before the draft.
Yeah, the agreement.
The draft is 4 weeks away, right? From tomorrow, right? So that's coming to pretty. It's not going to be probably the full sale is all done, handed over, but the winning bid will be accepted and everybody be happy and Dan will be happy and we'll all be happy and we'll start partying and planning.
Just waiting for the ticket parade to be held and everything. That's fair. And I think that most, I can't say all, there are still a weird contingent of people who are saying Dan should stay on because the next owner could be worse. I can't buy that. And especially with the Mary Jo White investigation is coming to a close as well. Jerry Jones actually came out and said that he wants the report released because he's seen it. He knows what's in it. He just wants it released.
No, he said he doesn't need it to be released because he already knows what's in it.
Sorry, reverse.
That man got so much money. He can say whatever the hell he wants. It's ridiculous.
I think people maybe took that a little too literally. To me, I think he's just saying, I already know what's going on over there in Washington or what has gone on over the last 20 years. I know what's happening. I know I've seen the report and all the specifics of it. I just know what Dan was up to. I know all the crazy stuff. So I kind of know what's already in there. So I don't even need to see it. I think that's kind of what he was saying, but people took it literally as though he's actually seen it. I don't know. Maybe he has seen bits and pieces. Who knows?
Roger Goodell came out and answered the question saying there's no way he could have seen it. So that's that is what it is. But I just wanted to bring that up because that was another crazy thing that happened.
And by the way, do we care? Do we care at this point?
What the investigation?
What's the report when Dan is no longer going to be the owner and he's going to be over there in Europe and untouchable?
Some people want it released for justice reasons and because for personal reasons. I mean, we definitely care because why would we advocate for it to be released and all of a sudden we don't care just because the ringleader is gone? Nah, we still care. We're human beings and people's lives.
I think it's important that it gets released. I understand, Stoner, what you're trying to say. And I do think that there's going to be a large group of people who don't care. Yeah. Who are like, whatever.
I want to hear it.
That's the former guy.
It's just salacious information. But it's not like you're going to sit there and you're going to say, Dan did this, this, and this. Now we're going to go put him in handcuffs.
No.
Or all these people are going to get paid a bunch of money because of this. No, it's just going to be a bunch of stuff that we're going to talk about. And we're going to say Dan is a bad guy over and over and over and over again. And then it's going to be when does training camp start?
Isn't there a certain amount of validation though with the release where people
there's validation? That's it. That's what I'm saying. But us as fans who don't have a stake in that game, we don't really care other than the salaciousness of it. Right. The people, the women, they care. I'm talking about us.
Like strictly football fans?
Yeah, I'm talking about us who are fans of the team who don't have a dog in the fight, a horse in the race, whatever the cliche is. Those people have, it may be important to them, but still nothing's going to happen other than their accusations are going to be validated.
Sure.
But nobody's getting arrested.
I mean, as far as we know,
we don't know.
As far as we know, everyone who is involved isn't isn't on the team anymore, right? Like they're
Yes.
not a part of the team
Right.
organization.
That's
and
exactly
everything
right.
like that.
Nobody's getting fired.
And so it's going to be interesting. Gus Bus brings up, would you want it released if it might penalize a draft pick for us? And I think if they were to penalize Washington, then they would have to release the parts that were, they're being penalized for.
What if they
and that would be that would be Dan Snyder's last middle finger to DC.
Take away 2 draft picks.
You know me and draft picks. I don't care. So
what if they do that and $30 million in cap space for next 2 years or something?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Release the damn report so we can
maybe you should keep that to yourself. That little report there. We don't need to be losing draft picks and cap space.
It will be interesting when it comes out. Is it going to drop before the thing? Obviously, a lot of talk on Dan Snyder trying to get himself indemnified. He's trying to essentially, get that getaway cut, free without having to pay anybody and pay the piper. So we'll see here what goes on with that. And I'm sure eventually if it does get released, obviously we'll bring it up here. And hopefully by that point it is just saying, yeah, Dan was a jerk face and we're glad he's no longer the owner of our favorite football franchise.
That's what's going to happen.
Speaking about our favorite football franchise, our current favorite head coach is talking up a storm, which normally just coach speech, but there's a few nuggets in here that we want to talk about. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing here in the game coming up.
The game is brought to you by Pacers Running Stores. Pacers has 5 stores in Northern Virginia and DC. For the best running footwear, apparel, and gear, just stop by or schedule a virtual fitting with the best running experts in the business. Pacers Running exists to help as many people as possible through running. For every run, it's Pacers Running.
That's right. Get yourself a pair of shoes from Pacers Running. I put the wrong one up here. It's a little sneak peek there. We're going to put that one up as our run of show here for later. As we go over these Ron Rivera comments here.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Gentlemen,
what up?
I don't like to put a whole lot of stock into what he says.
True.
Okay.
To an extent.
You got it. Just very little. But one thing that's been kind of a through line from Jason Wright, from Marty Mayhew to Ron Rivera is the QB1 discussion, a little bit at least.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is not a target for this franchise. Not at all. That's not what they're going for.
Yeah.
Stoner.
Yeah.
For you, you can't be happy with this, right?
The Lamar part?
Yeah.
It's disappointing when Ron says that they never even considered Lamar this offseason, which I don't believe that for a second. Of course they considered it.
Yeah.
But they looked at their current situation and just said, we just can't do it. We can't. We're all in on this Sam Howell thing, for better or for worse. This is what we're going to try to do. We're going to have a QB on a rookie contract, and we're going to try and build around him. And that's what we've done this offseason. Yeah. So we're not going after Lamar. I think it's insane. I would give everything for Lamar. I would trade, I've said this many times, I would have traded Deron Payne and Terry McLaurin and a first-round draft pick for Lamar. Now, you don't have to do that because you could just give up like 2 first-round draft picks for Lamar, right? But I'm just saying, you build the quarterback first. And this team and this regime just seems like that's not what they want to do year after year after year. They want to try and figure it out some way. And this time around, they're going to try and figure it out with a rookie quarterback, one game quarterback.
Second year pro.
And that's what they're doing. They're going on. And I don't get it. I understand their logic, but I think it's a failing, losing logic that's going to cost them all their jobs. They're putting all their marbles in Sam Howell instead of Lamar Jackson. That, my friends, is insanity. They should. They're not going to. They should go all in on Lamar.
Trev, I know we've discussed this. I know you agree with that sentiment. I think you are here with Gus Bus in this comment. A new owner can change the Lamar decision real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if we get a new owner before the draft, which because Lamar Jackson thing could very potentially go well into like OTAs and stuff, do you think a new owner could step in and make that decision?
Oh yeah, for sure. I most definitely do. And the fact that Ron was asked that and he addressed that for, I think, the first time ever publicly, he understands that could happen too. He even understands that he could be gone in a year with the new ownership. I think that's very possible that could happen. And I'm not going to hold out on that opinion until the new ownership or until the time comes where Lamar signs a contract outside of Washington is when I'll believe it. I mean, of course they're going to say they did consider it. You're right, Stoner. There's no way they didn't, because if they did, why did Ron say, what assets would we give up to do that? How much money would we have to do? You've obviously figured that out. You're just not saying the assets you would have to give up or the money you would have to give up. You already know that. And that's why it can't work. So you definitely considered it. And Mayhew, I know we didn't bring him up, but his comments about Javon Hargrave, like that was dumb.
That was weird.
He was
really
already
weird.
signed. Of course, you're not looking at him. And Daron Payne was signed his extension at 3:00 in the morning, the morning of free agency. So like, don't even whatever. But back to
those are some weird comments from Marty because one that's a essentially competition for the guy that you wanted to extend and then you guys doted over and kept in the building, and you're like, yeah, we wanted to go for Hargrave, but didn't think that he fit the team and all this other stuff. Yeah, well, okay, probably should have picked somebody else on that one. But Hargrave's probably the biggest name outside Daron Payne as far as who signed kind of a big contract so far. It's been a kind of a more of a quiet start to free agency than as far as big contracts are concerned. There's no Kirk who's more money than
I agree, Stoner. It just feels like
receiver.
It feels like we're too scared, or we have this idea that we're going to be like picked on or embarrassed if we cheat and go after the best player and bring him on our team, like they do in the NBA. How some people say they build super teams and that's cheating. No, it's smart. Like if you tried so many times you can't do what you have. Oh, well, if you do add a superstar to your other superstars, then what happens? Boom! It's not cheating. It's just being smart. It's it's commonsensical. Like I don't understand how you don't. I mean, even you come out and say we didn't consider that. Like, how does that look to you as an NFL organization too? Like, we didn't consider this player for our team. Like, we're not even looking at him. Like, what does that say about you as an organization in NFL? Like,
it just also. Sorry, Stoner, but it just counter to what, and you might have been trying to say this as well, to what they've been doing. Right?
Exactly.
They were openly. Shopping for quarterbacks the last 2 seasons.
Exactly.
They were kicking the tires on everybody.
Patrick Mahomes. They said specifically that they called about Patrick Mahomes last year.
You tried.
And now this year they're not.
You tried Russell Wilson. You tried Aaron Rodgers.
Stafford.
You probably even tried Jimmy G. But this year, when you get the next Michael Vick of quarterbacks, you're like, we got Sam Howell, baby. And I love Sam Howell. But come on. Let's be honest.
It does seem a little odd. I don't know if it's smoke and mirrors. I don't know if it's the money situation, as Gregory said that they are. Baltimore might not want to trade him. In essentially in state.
Okay.
And lose that. That's one of the things here.
Or maybe
Tommy T with the question, kind of marrying Stoner's take on he would trade away everyone. What if the Ravens want Terry Allen and a few first picks and we have to pay him? Well, if you're giving up Terry and Allen, you just cleared the space for the $50 million a year, right? Because that's 40 some odd million right there. And then you just restructure a contract, you're good to go.
You only have to give up 2 firsts because that's the compensation. If you go and agree to a contract with him, then you have to give up 2 first-round draft picks. So you don't have to give up more than that. The reason we talk about giving Allen and Payne and McLaurin is just to kind of exaggerate the situation that they should do whatever it takes. Yeah. But you only have to give up 2 firsts. You have to give them a bunch of money.
I'm ready.
And of course, Washington doesn't have the cap situation this year. They only have like $3.5 million.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
really low.
Well, you know
on
what
the
their cap
at this
space
point.
is next year based on the contracts they have right now? $100 million.
Yeah.
100. So Trev mentioned this a few weeks ago. Make it a backloaded contract. So this year he's not getting that much money.
A Deshaun
against the
Watson
cap.
deal, right? You give him $1 million for that
$1
first
million
year.
this year, and then guaranteed next year you get $48 million. And problem solved.
And get rid of the
cap.
pick.
In terms of cap.
Get rid of the 16th pick and whatever our second or whatever. Like, just go ahead and do that.
It's just odd that, like Nathan said, a year ago they went after everybody.
Yep.
And then this year they decided they're not going after somebody who is available.
Yeah,
More
right.
than these other guys were available.
Right.
Right? Like Aaron Rodgers wasn't really available last year for
No.
Washington. Mahomes was not available.
No.
But they tried.
No. But they
But
tried.
this year, you got a guy who's pretty much available.
And they're like,
nah, we're going with
left
Sam
them on
Howell.
red. Left them on red.
A fifth round. I'm going to keep calling him a rookie. I don't care.
That's
A
fine.
fifth round
Not a
rookie
second year
with
pro.
one start. And we're putting, they're putting their entire reputation, their job on the line with Sam Howell. And I'm just stunned that they're doing that. I just don't get it. But
Now,
here we are.
devil's advocate, maybe, or whatever, the opposite. Maybe they have been told to say all this to not give any inclination that they possibly will reach out when new ownership comes in. Like, maybe, I don't know.
Lying to us, right? Which
Yeah, I mean,
it is lying season.
No one's
It
going
is
to come out
lying
and say,
season.
"Oh yeah, like we definitely picked up the phone and called Lamar." Nobody's even said that. Even
And
though,
this is what we railed them for last year, right? Where they played their hand. They told everybody they're desperate for a quarterback, and what a lot of people felt was overpaid for Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Which he was.
And so this might be them trying to learn from their mistakes, and we'll see.
I'm telling you,
It's
see, man.
we're going to move on from Lamar Jackson because that's eaten up a lot of real estate over the last several video contents that we've created here, and it's not happening right now as of current. Everyone's saying that from the Washington franchise. Now, one of the things staying with the QB that Ron Rivera kind of touched on was that Sam Howell will be QB1, will be the starting QB1, but there will be a competition. Jacoby will compete for the starting job, and if he's better, will start.
I'm so sick of this, man.
Stoner, you don't believe in this being a real competition. Is this all coach speak, or do you think Jacoby can actually, get that QB1 spot if he's proves to be better in training camp?
All things being equal, Jacoby Brissett would win the quarterback competition and be the starting quarterback week 1. But all things are not equal, as you were just referring to. They're going to give Sam every opportunity to win the job, and he basically has to throw up all over himself to not win the job. Doesn't matter what Ron is saying right now. He's saying Jacoby, if he plays well enough, he's going to be the starter. I don't believe that. Not for a second. But, I mean, you bring in $8 million. How much is he making? $6 million?
$8 million.
$8 million a year quarterback as a backup. Sam better mind his P's and Q's if he really wants to be the quarterback of this team. He better be out there working his butt off to try and become QB1 for this organization, because $8 million, you don't usually want $8 million sitting on your bench unless the other guy is just completely outperforming you.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't buy it. I think it's a little bit of coach speak, but we'll see once training camp runs around, and we'll know from the beat reporters how Sam is actually playing, the guys that watch him every single day, if he is going to be QB1. But he's got every chance in the book, and Ron is just kind of talking because people ask him questions, and he's got to figure out how to answer it.
All right, Trev, time to put your money where your mouth is on this one. Could Sam Howell win a legit QB competition against Jacoby Brissett?
First off, I'm gonna answer that by saying this: if we had a franchise quarterback, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now.
That's right. So
That's
go get Lamar.
one. That's number one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad that we have to talk about competition between a second-year pro and a 8-year backup quarterback that's only been starting due to injuries. So,
100%.
in an open competition, I Jacoby, if all things were equal, yeah, Jacoby would win, but all things are not equal. So Sam's going to win. Sam can flat out be a better quarterback just off of his skill alone. I mean, obviously, to give the coach and staff credit, they've seen him every day in practice, OTAs, in the locker room, outside the locker room, in the meeting rooms, watching film. They know him better than we all do, obviously. We just know just by what we see on tape and on Sunday. So, but I mean, it is what it is. I agree with Stoner. $8 million for a backup quarterback is a lot for a backup. We were paying Taylor barely $1 million for like 2 years or $2 million.
Yeah, a couple $1 million.
So, you paid Fitzpatrick $10 million to be the starter.
Yeah, so that's $2 million short than what we gave. I mean, more than what we gave to Kobe. So I don't know. I feel like they did bring him in here to compete, but it's also a sneaky way of saying he's our starting quarterback. I saw the comment over there by I think Gus saying, "Why even say QB1 if it's going to be a competition?" Exactly. Because now you've got not only us, the fan base, jumping down your throat saying QB1. Now you've gotten Sam Howell that he's QB1. You can add the words entering OTAs. That doesn't mean anything. QB1 is the main thing that you said in that sentence. And then you bring in Jacoby Brissett and you pay him $8 million. And it's like, if you're so confident in me and I'm QB1, then why did you get Jacoby Brissett, who has a possibility of beating me just because of his name and his career alone and his contract? I don't know. Like I said in the beginning, we would never have this conversation. He would never been asked this question at the combine if we had a franchise quarterback. And that's the biggest question outside of who can win the competition. So,
yeah, I don't think it's going to be a fair competition either. No. Okay. Everything is leaning towards, we're going to start Howell because that's the way we have to go. And Jacoby Brissett is essentially just he's a stopgap in case things go south, in a hurry or injury and something like that. I see a couple of comments there, like Tommy T here, who's saying Tua beat Jacoby out. That was also not a fair competition. You're gonna give it to your first round pick, top 10 overall pick. Yeah, so these aren't, even though as Stoner keeps pointing out, this is a 5th round pick, everything's being geared towards Sam Howell given the start. And I agree with I don't agree with Michael's comment here, whoever starts is on a short leash.
I agree with that.
I don't think that's the case. I think they're going to just go through the struggle bus. I actually agree with Gus Bus. I actually don't want a short leash on Hal. Have him play through the struggles.
Bro,
look at it in a way. The only reason why Dwayne Haskins was pulled was because they were in a competitive position. Even though they were like 1 win into that season, everybody in the NFC East was so bad that year that they were just like, we can make a switch and potentially win. If Washington has the same situation where they're 1-5 and the next team is like 3-2, the Giants or something are like 3-2, I don't know that they're going to necessarily pull the switch. You're just maybe a couple of those losses are division games and stuff. I think they're going to end up riding it out unless again they can be competitive in the NFC.
You're just overlooking the obvious.
We got Jacoby Brissett just for that reason. That's why we got Jacoby Brissett.
Well, I think you're overlooking the obvious, which is Ron is coaching for his job.
So why wouldn't you go get Lamar Jackson? That's the stupidest thing in my entire life.
That's beside the point. But I mean, that's a fair point. But just in this Jacoby Brissett / Sam Howell short leash situation, Ron can't go into 1-5 and just say, let's keep going with this guy who has led us to a 1-5 record and is struggling. He's coaching for his life.
What?
For his coaching life.
Well,
that's what he can't just keep going and say, that's okay. We're going to keep letting this guy struggle. We'll end up 5-12. I'll be out of a job. And, Sam worked through his struggles and the next coach is going to get Sam Howell. No way.
But what if that has now changed to the new ownership pretty much dictates if it's going to be Ron's last year or not the players and the outcome on the field, because the new ownership didn't pick anybody that's in the building right now.
Okay.
So what if he's not like he knows that this might be his last year, so he's just saying, F it, I'll go out like this way and not have to pull as many strings just to save my job, because no matter if I do pull strings, I could be gone anyway.
Right. But he's got a much better case if he starts off 1-5, he switches over to Jacoby, and they go on this nice winning streak, and
they always do. Ron Rivera always seems to have this mid-season.
And then maybe they finish 10-7. Okay, so they go like 9-2 the rest of the way. Now he's got a legitimate case to bring to the new owner to say, look, I took this team to a double-digit win, and I brought them to the playoffs. You can't get rid of me now.
Yes, you can. He's a new owner.
I mean, you can, but I'm saying that's his case that he brings to the owners. He's saying, look what I did in the second half of this.
If we have a new owner before the season, I'm going to agree with Rockman and Michael here. If he's 1-5, he's just getting canned.
But I do, yeah, and I do. I kind of agree
in the middle of the season.
I agree with you, Stoner, too, but then I agree with Nathan, too, because I feel like that's why we signed Jacoby Brissett, for that reason. If Sam is struggling, we don't have to turn into a fan favorite like Taylor Heineke and hope and pray. We have a kind of proven backup that can be a starting quarterback, too, as well.
Yeah, but he's saying to just keep running Sam out there. Don't yank him.
Well, yeah, also don't yank him, man. Don't. How's he going to learn if you yank him?
Ron doesn't care. Ron needs to win games. He doesn't care about the development of Sam Howell.
That's why he kept. Oh my God!
He doesn't care if Sam is
Ron. We can stop trying to figure out where's Waldo when he says things. Okay.
He's going to go to Jacoby. Who said it? Did Tommy T say it that he has a short leash?
Yeah. No, it was Michael who said. Michael said that he has short leash.
Has a short leash.
Who does?
Trust me on that.
Sam Howell.
Whoever wins, it's going to be Howell.
QB is going to have a short leash.
He has a short leash, and I agree. 1-3 is going to get him yanked out of that starting QB position.
Wow,
100%. If he's not playing well, I mean, if they're 1-3 and their defense is giving up 40 points a game, but the offense is scoring 40, that's different. But if they're 1-3 and they're scoring 19.6 points per game, like they've done the last couple of years, they're yanking his ass. They're taking that 5th rounder rookie.
For who?
They're putting him on the side, and they're going to put Jacoby in and say, hey, go win us some football games so I can keep my job. Not let's keep throwing Sam out there so he can continue to develop for the next coach because my ass is gone. Short leash. Very short leash.
Are gone no matter what. So
it's yeah. We'll see how all that plays out in the season, and even in the offense. Now you brought up, but we're bringing up the owner here, and that's actually something Ron Rivera talked about himself.
Mm-hmm.
He was asked about it. He says that he's had no formal meetings with the prospective owners.
Yeah.
But that the new owner would have a say in Chase's 5th-year option.
I don't get that.
That's a decision that's actually coming sooner than later. Did that surprise you as far as that because that kind of hints that, again, this is when people say that this is first and goal type situation, that this is going to happen before the draft. If the team, if we're saying the new owner gets a say in this 5th-year option, that means we're close, right?
When is the deadline for the 5th-year option?
May something.
It's in May
2nd. Yep.
I think
okay, so that's very close. That's right after the draft, and so he would have a say in terms of that's what he wants to do.
May 1st.
The owner decides it. I'm telling y'all, this is worst case scenario. I don't want the owner having any say in football matters.
Bro, that's what
I don't want him to decide if Chase Young gets a 5th-year option.
That happens in every team, every league. I mean, every year, every team across.
I don't think so. I think there are plenty of football owners who sit back there and let the smart people, the football guys, come to him and say, this is what we're going to do. The owner says, here's our budget, right? This is what we're going to do. This is how much money you have based on the cap and all that other stuff. Figure it out and let me know when you want me to write checks. And that's what I want my owner to be. I don't want him deciding if Chase Young should get a 5th-year option.
Well, it's part of the money.
Marty and Ron.
It's part of the money.
I don't want Josh Harris coming in here and saying Chase Young should not get a 5th-year option.
Bro,
I'm going to be so pissed if that happens.
This is from the guy. No, Stoner, but it's money. It's not about if you like him as a player.
It's not money. It's within the operating budget of the team that every team gets.
It's still money because then you could tag him next year and save money without having to. It depends on what the money is, bro. It is. I hate it. I'm with you, but like it. I mean, it's just what it is.
I don't.
I think they should have already picked it up before this even like came to be more of a deadline than anything.
I think the longer this goes on, the more clear it is that they're not picking up the option.
I think they are. Yeah. I think they are. Personally,
I think if they don't, and they franchise tag him next year. So wait, if they don't, he plays for us this year, but just not next year, unless we tag him.
He plays for us this year, which is year 4,
right?
And then he becomes an unrestricted free agent next year. Unrestricted, he can go anywhere,
unless we tag him.
Unless you tag him, that's absolutely right. Unless you tag him, which is probably more than the 5th-year option, right?
Yes, it would be more than the 5th-year option.
Than the 5th-year option. So I mean, if he has a great year, you can do that.
Yeah, I guess
if he has a bad year, then you can just let him go. But if
maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the owner thing. Like, let the man play on the year. Let the owners decide. That is what they're trying to say, I guess.
I despise that. I despise the owner having any say in any football-related matter.
Well, it's gonna have to happen.
I want the owner to decide on the stadium and where training camp's gonna be, and fan fests and who the main beer sponsor is going to be in the state. That's what I want the owner to worry about. Well, I want the owner to walk in and say, Ron, do you want to sign Chase Young?
Nah, dog. We can't let Ron do the decision making anymore.
He's in the decision making right now. Yeah, you got to fire him.
You can't let
Stoner. I'm with you. I'm with you, Stoner.
Thank you.
I don't want the owner making these decisions. They hire the football people, make the football people make those decisions.
Not Ron, though. We don't.
Well, Ron Rivera is making the decisions right now. Now, I'm going to kind of dovetail into his comment that a lot of people have blown, I think, a little bit out of proportion here, which was we're finally getting to build a roster.
Oh, that one infuriated me.
All right, let's hear it, Stoner. You're already going off. Let's hear some more on this particular one. I think people's reaction to it was overblown. But let's.
So you think it was coach speak?
I think it was just his usual just talking. Gave a comment. Quarterback. We could be eliminated. Like, it's just one of those. It's just one of the long lines where it was just like, Ron Rivera is literally just. Yeah,
I read the papers.
I'm the one who brought the MF papers.
So Stoner, you said this infuriated you. You're in the majority here. Lot. I realize I'm in the minority and thinking that it's just whatever. Yeah. Why does it infuriate you so?
Well, because you don't want your coach to say, and I think he said, we are finally building.
It was
a
finally. It was a finally.
That's what moved it.
Fourth year, by the way.
That's what changed it from coach speak to this is what I'm really saying. Coach speak, you might just say we're building the roster. But he said we're finally building the roster. Finally, he should have been doing that from year 1. And you, Mr. Rivera, who I love you. I love you, Ron. I'm not trying to attack you personally. I'm just talking about personnel-wise. You said year 3 is when we start seeing our moves start paying off on the field. We're now year 4. We're past that. So now you're saying we're finally building the roster the way we want to build it. That's a bad answer.
So the thing is, and I'm going to counter this real quick. I think that this was one of those things. He's not the best public speaker. This is one of those things I think got away from him. Yeah. I think when he's saying that we finally are getting to build the roster, what I think he's saying is and remember when he came here, he talked about this being kind of a 5-year kind of project, right? What I think he's saying is we're finally seeing like the roster kind of coming together. He's not talking about like we're starting to build the roster from scratch. He's saying he's essentially saying we're finally seeing a roster that's it's kind of where we want to be. Right now we're at the tweaking stage, whereas before it was kind of like we had to move pieces here and there. And I'm not saying that's consistent with the moves that they're making, but I'm saying I think that's internally what he was going for. I know Trev, that I'm kind of.
If I ever run for office, I want this guy right here. I want him to be my spin master.
There we go.
I want him to turn everything and make it sound all rosy and better than what it actually is.
Because it could be.
He just took that statement and made it sound all flowery and rainbows and everything. And I'm still not buying it, but I appreciate the effort. I appreciate that.
Yeah, there we go. Here we go. Trev, what's your take on this one?
You can't say you're starting to finally build a roster when you don't have the foundation. And everybody, say it with me. What's the foundation of building a roster? Quarterback. So
he even said that, Trev, last year when they asked him why everyone else is doing so well.
Quarterback. Nah, dog. Well, then put your money where your mouth is, like Nathan said to me earlier. Like this is you're just putting your foot in your mouth. You're causing the fan base to attack you even more and be even more unhappy than what already is when you say finally building. Just because you went out and got some backup O-line depth and you got a nice replacement that you just let go, Cole Holcomb Jr. 2.0. That doesn't. I mean, that's not. You're not building a roster. You're just filling the holes. Building a roster starts with a quarterback, and you go from there. So stop saying you're finally building a roster. You've been building since you got here. And yes, the pieces you got last year kind of sort of paid off. Jahan Dotson was nice till he got hurt. Outside of that, I don't even know. Percy Butler came on at the end of the scene, whatever. Derek Forrest is starting to become a name, whatever. But, like, come on, let's be honest. You can't build a roster until you have a franchise quarterback. So stop saying that.
This is the one show we hope the team does not watch when we're reaching out to them. We hope they don't watch this show. It's not personal. We're just kind of attacking decision making.
As long as they listen to my spin, they might hire me on the spot, right?
That's right.
We might just clip your little clip there and send it to him. And say Nathan's got your back. He knows how.
Think about it. The Patriots, what they do? They inherited Tom Brady. Okay, bad example. Pat Mahomes. They inherited him too. Anyways, teams went out and got their quarterback, and then
they inherited these guys?
Both of those were drafted.
Yeah, they drafted, but like it wasn't like they were free agent when they got them and made them instantly better. Like they were there, and then they just drafted around Tom Brady.
Yeah, but they recognized. They recognized the guy, right? Not Tom Brady. Tom Brady's a bad example.
Pat Mahomes. They built around Pat Mahomes. They built around Josh Allen.
We've got a quarterback, like Kansas City.
Burrow.
We've got a quarterback, but we're still gonna go and move up in the draft.
Yep.
And take a quarterback because that guy's the real deal.
Bingo, Joe Burrow. You were good, but I want a receiver to come play with me. Okay, no problem. Your line is crappy, but we'll get your receiver. What happened? Super Bowl record. Right. Jamar Chase became the best receiver. Like, it's just stop saying you're building a roster until you have the quarterback. Until then, just say we're filling out the roster, or just say something else, bro. Practice your lines. Like, I need new answers.
Yeah, but they definitely can't go into these things when they ask the question and just say, well, we still don't have a quarterback. Well, I mean, they definitely can't say that because then that'll just infuriate everybody. But they got to figure out a better way to say these things.
There's a night and day difference between EB's presser and Ron Rivera's presser.
Yeah.
EB is straightforward, doesn't use, whatever. Ron is like, well, he says things that puts his foot in his mouth. And he's like, I didn't really mean that. I really meant that, like, we got a roster, but we're just building it now. No.
Well, part of that roster building apparently is a third running back is a priority.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with this one just because that doesn't make any sense to me. A third running back is your priority. If you have a guy you like in Brian Robinson for a first couple downs, you had a guy who's successful for you and Antonio Gibson, And he even says that there's a couple people on the roster that they like as far as like down the way as a third option. What makes it a priority? I don't get this. I don't know where he's coming from, and I don't even know what that means in the long run. Does that mean you're going to trade for somebody like an Eckler? Does that mean that Bijan Robinson's going to be a pick at 16? Why? To me, what it does tell me is if the third running back is a priority, then the third running back is not on the roster currently.
For sure.
It's not Jonathan Williams. I'm sorry, love EP. I can sleep on the couch. Just let me move my CPAP machine. But I'm sorry, it's not Jarrett freaking Patterson, right? Like it's just the person's not there. It might mean that Antonio Gibson isn't going to be on this team for very much longer. A lot of people love to dog on him. I'm still big time Antonio Gibson guy. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do in this offense. But I just don't see where we're coming back when we're talking about a third running back. There's still first team players that we need to get situated. And we're talking about a third running back. This isn't a team that was in the Super Bowl that we're like, this is like you said, Trev, here we are kind of filling these holes, and a third running back is one of those holes. This is a roster that needs significant improvements, and a third running back just didn't make sense to me. Stoner,
it's just those words again. It's those specific words. If he said third running back is something we're looking around, that's fine. Nobody would say anything. But when he throws in certain words, he sticks his foot in his mouth, like Trevor's been saying. When he says priority, when he says third running back is a priority, third running back should never, ever, ever be a priority at any time. It should be something that you want to do, kind of like we need to go and get a backup center, which they did when they re-signed Tyler Larson. But that wasn't a priority, right? It was something that they needed to do. That word priority screws it all up. It's when he says about the roster building, when he says we're starting to build the roster. If you hadn't said starting, you would have been okay. He's just not good at these pressers. He just keeps sticking his foot in his mouth. And I don't think it's a lying season kind of deal. It's just he doesn't know to not put certain words out there that's going to rile everybody up, including these three yahoos right here. Yeah. It riles me up when he says third running back is a priority.
Yeah.
No, it should never be a priority. No. It should be something that you need to do, but it should be way down on your list of priorities, i.e., Trev, say it. What's your number one priority?
Quarterback.
That's right. So it's just weird that he used that word priority. He drove me crazy at this press conference with just these little words that he stuffed in there and riled everybody up, including me.
It's almost like him hiring Eric Bieniemy. He added his own pressure. It's like now you're coming out here saying what you want to do, priority this, we're starting to do this. And according to the moves you made, it's starting to feel like that you're just trying to impress EB and show that you can, get what he wants and work with him as a head coach, assistant head coach. Because I mean, why are you saying third running back is a priority? Maybe EB told you that, and it probably is for his offense that he's bringing to us. We don't know that, but like you said, Stoner, why are you saying priority? Just say you're looking at. Don't even say it at all. Why now? You put pressure on B-Rob and AG in the running back room.
Well, somebody may have specifically asked. They may have said, with McKissick gone,
right?
What are you doing for the third running back?
Right, but don't say priority.
Don't say priority. That's all you
now you got us looking to draft a running back in the first round. All these mock drafts are going to come out, which I hate mock drafts.
Oh, I love mock drafts.
They're all going to come. I mean, I know we do one.
Trev's gonna. I was about to say, Trev's gonna dip when we do our mock draft.
It's just like it's just I don't know, whatever. But yeah, don't say it's a priority, because if it is, then you said also they're still addressing some spots in the free agency. That's been done. If you're still doing it, then go get it. If it's a priority.
If you got $3 million, you have to do a lot more than
right now. Go get somebody who's a third running back from a team that beat you this year. If it's such a priority, like I just don't understand why third running back is a priority.
Why isn't left guard a priority? Why isn't
cornerback a priority?
Corner a priority?
Safety,
all these things.
A linebacker, because that Carton, what's his name? Carton, whatever his name
Cody
is.
Barton.
Cody Barton.
You already forgot the man who donated
Yeah.
like $15 to us
That's
last.
right. Cody Barton was here last week.
So
Yeah,
I hear you.
you're right. It's everyone in the comment section lying season. He's not good at public speaking. You know, we're not trying to be psychologists, which I saw there. We're not even like legitimately upset. Okay, like I mean, we're discussing it.
I
We're
ain't going to the
discussing
game
it,
at all.
and there are feelings that we have,
Yes.
and sometimes it comes out, you know, and passionate because we're passionate about this team and we want them to do well. Yeah, we want them to win.
I mean, it's pretty
so
sad when the Texans have more promise than we do this year.
They do? Well, when they get their quarterback.
I mean, they're making great moves. They got a great head coach. They're going to get a great quarterback.
What pick do they have, by the way? They have 2 or they have
two in the first.
Yeah, so they're getting either Bryce Young or
this year too. So
yeah.
it's like,
yeah, they definitely have more promise than
that's what I'm
we
saying.
do.
All these low-level teams are making great moves, and we're out here signing has-beens to improve our team.
Just want to clarify because I think Stoner misunderstood. They have 2 picks within the first round. Houston does, but they're not 1 or 2. The Bears are number 1, and Carolina traded up to number 2.
Oh, okay.
Or no, Carolina trade. Never mind. Sorry, Carolina did trade up to number 1.
Yeah.
They traded with the Bears. That's
Houston
what it was.
The Bears
So
are out.
maybe
Those
Houston
2.
is. Let me
Yeah,
double
I think
check
Houston's
here.
2.
Because Colts are 4.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
Houston is 2. So yeah, they will get either CJ Stroud or Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson, or one of those guys. So that's fair enough. They are number 2, and they've got a couple ones. So my bad. Thanks for correction in the comment section there. Everyone's on that one. Everyone's on
Good.
that
Hey,
one.
that's why we need y'all in the comments.
That's why we appreciate everybody in the comment section. And here's the last thing before we continue with some of this draft talk, as far as that's concerned. And this is kind of talking about that roster building again. It's going to take some contract creativity to allow the team to keep all 4 defensive linemen. A specific question that was asked to Ron Rivera was, could they keep all 4 defensive linemen? And there seemed to be some thought there that, at least from the team, that, yeah, we could keep all 4. It's just going to take some kind of wiggle room on the contracts. Stoner, which of these linemen do you not keep?
Well, first, let me just say this. Good answer, Ron. That's how you do it. You say we have a desire. We like these guys, and if we're going to keep them, we just have to have some creativity with contracts. Not, well, probably we're going to have to lose one of. Then you get everybody all riled up because they're not keeping all 4. I can tell you that right now. There's contract creativity or not, they're just not going to be able to put $50 million a year or $60 million a year in contracts for 4 defensive linemen, which I believe that's where they are this year, right? Because Payne and Allen, I mean, Payne's first year is a little bit down, but you got Allen, you got Sweat on his 5th-year option this year. Chase Young was the number 2 pick in the draft, and this is his 4th year, so he's making $13, $14, $15 million. They got $60 million in defensive linemen right now. You can't go on when Montez and Chase are going to get $20 million a year at least.
One of them is going to get $20 million easy.
Yeah. So you've got 20, 40, 60, $80 million in defensive line contract. That ain't happening. If it's my choice, right now, if I had to make that decision, and you've already got Payne and Allen, I mean, it's a tough decision. Right today, I would probably I'd probably keep Chase Young.
Wow.
Well, just
I'm actually surprised by that.
You guys think I'm a Chase Young hater. I'm not.
No.
I believe he has
He's a
all
Sam
the
Howell
tools.
hater.
Yes.
I'm not a Sam Howell hater either. I'm not a believer in Sam Howell.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
To most, that equates as a hater for the record.
And Chase Young, I'm a big believer in his potential, in his upside. And I hope he can live up to that. And so if I had to make that decision, I think he has more upside than Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat has been twice the defensive end that Chase Young has up to this point. But if I'm going to decide right now, I would take the upside of Chase Young. and I would get rid of Sweat and maybe trade him. I might trade Montez Sweat tomorrow. You know what I mean? Before the draft or whatever, and get a linebacker, get a third running back, right? Or whatever the priority seems to be with this team. Go get a starting center, whatever. I would trade Montez Sweat today. His value is at an all-time high. You're not going to be able to give him $22 million a year next year. Even if you really wanted to, you're not going to be able to afford that. Trade Montez Sweat right now. That's what I would do.
EP in the chat, shout out. Also a surprise. We have Stoner sticking with Chase, an EP who loves herself some Chase, saying bye.
Yeah.
Trev, I asked the question, which of the 4 do you let go? Obviously, you have 2 kind of signed kind of long term. So those seem the obvious choice to stay. I mean, you could trade one away like Stoner just suggested, but which one are you letting go? If you can't keep all of them, do the contract math and keep all of them, who are you letting go?
Oof. Montez Sweat. I think so too. I'm a huge fan of Chase Young. Never really was a Montez Sweat fan. We drafted him and we got him. Yeah, he was nice, but he wasn't. I feel like he's still like still. Yeah, he's Preston Smith. He's not a generational talent. He's not a freak of an athlete.
You got him late in the first. I thought it was a smart decision to jump back in and get him. I loved the pick. He
clearly needs some help on the other end to get him going. He can't just dominate the game by himself like Chase Young. We saw him do his rookie year. Teams aren't game planning for Montez Sweat like they do for Chase Young or anybody else in the line. They really don't. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of Montez Sweat. Chase's potential upside is phenomenal because we saw a glimpse of his rookie year. Second overall pick. He's still wearing the W chain, even though he hasn't played a snap for us in a long time. So I don't know. And he's from the area, hometown kid, great kid. Go ahead and trade Montez Sweat. Now, I did see a comment I was going to go to as well. Somebody said we could keep all linemen if we don't have a franchise quarterback. But if we have a franchise quarterback, it's going to be really hard because we got to pay him. But
yeah, it was Kevin here. Shout out Kevin in the
bridge thing, Sam Howell, Gardner Minshew next year, and Jacoby Brissett the year after that, Teddy Bridgewater. Then, yeah, we can keep all 4 linemen. But ideally, you really want to get your franchise quarterback, which means somebody on the D-line has to go.
I mean, if Sam Howell does turn out to be that guy, then
you're in luck.
Then you're in luck. Then you can possibly
keep all 4. Yes.
Yeah.
But realistically, if that doesn't happen, one has to go Montez Sweat.
And think about, let's just say Montez Sweat has a big year next year and he gets double-digit sacks.
Okay.
11 and a half, something like that. 12.
He's gotten a lot of pressures. He's getting there. He's almost getting there.
But let's say he does that and he has a big year. Then he's gone, probably, because he's going to get in the mid-20s.
Sure.
That's what a good pass rusher goes for on the open market. So he's probably gone, and you get nothing for him.
Yeah, so you
get a comp pick. You're likely getting a comp pick the year after.
Yeah, the year after you're getting a 3rd rounder, probably for Montez Sweat. That just doesn't do you any good right now when you can trade him for something very valuable. His stock is at an all-time high right now. His trade value is at an all-time high. And I'm usually not one of those guys who likes to trade guys whose value is the highest because that means they're at the peak of their powers. I don't want to get rid of a guy who's at the peak of their powers. But in the NFL, if we're not talking about quarterback, in the NFL, you get rid of one guy like that, you're not decimating your team for the whole season.
Sure.
So you can help. Like in basketball, you get rid of a guy who's at the peak of his powers. Well, your team could go tank after that. So that's a different story. But in football, it's a little bit different. So you trade a defensive end who's at an all-time high in his value. Now would be the time to do that. So hopefully they do. We'll see.
I mean, I'm going to make it 3 for 3 here. I think you're going to have to roll with Chase Young and see Montez Sweat go. It will be interesting to see draft day. Is that a name that gets thrown around as a potential trade, or what I think is more likely to happen with this team is Chase doesn't get the 5th-year option. Both players play, and then they're only going to pay 1.
And let's not forget also that Montez Sweat's from the previous coaching slash GM regime.
Yes.
Where Chase is Ron's
guy.
Pick, right?
Yeah.
That's the first pick he ever made for this franchise.
Yeah, that's Ron's
Chase
guy.
Young. So he's got to that just adds a little bit more to him wanting to keep if he had to choose between the two. Yeah. He's going to go for his guy rather than the previous regime. He can just say, well, I didn't
take that guy. Was that Gruden who got Montez Sweat?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Gruden because they got Haskins
and then jumped back in and grabbed
Allen.
Yeah, I'm just talking about that last year. Gruden's last year is when he got Haskins and then Sweat.
Yeah.
And then your first ever pick, the number 2 overall pick, you're going to choose that guy over the previous owner. I mean, previous front office.
Yes.
Yeah. Yam agreeing with me here. That's the right call too. I feel, Nathan, let them play it out and see who earns it. I think that's really what they're going to do.
You're probably right.
We're talking on the spot right now. If you had to give one of those two a contract to match Allen and honestly, if you're giving it off of what they've done, you're going to give it to a contract to Montez Sweat.
And we got big boy Mathis coming in there.
Far outperformed Chase Young so far, mainly due to injury. That injury is going to be interesting to see how Chase Young, bounces back. 5th-year option, apparently in the hands of the new owner that's coming in. We'll see about that.
Yeah, cool.
The last comment is going to be talked about in the cool down.
Oh, okay.
And that is not ruling out anybody.
Oh, yeah.
16. Everything is open at 16, and that's exactly what we're going to be going over here in the cool down.
The cool down is brought to you by Manscaped. Ever since my Nathan started using their products, I can't cool down. Fellas, trust me. Go to Manscaped right now and get 20% off and free shipping by using the code REF. Your ladies will appreciate you. Now back to Trev, Stoner, and my Manscaped man, Nathan.
Manscaped for all your shaving needs, whether or not it be up top or down below. Head to manscaped.com. Use the code REF. That's R as in ref, E as in F, and F as in F for 20% off and some free shipping there. Get yourself a new nose and ear trimmer. Nice and clean there. Options at 16. Ron Rivera says it's all open. Marty Mayhew doubling down on that as well earlier in the week. That includes QB as an option. Obviously, the third running back as a priority as an option. So let's go over those two first because those are some of the more interesting ones. Bijan Robinson has been kind of mocked and or suggested quite heavily for Washington at 16. Stoner, what do you think about taking Bijan Robinson at 16 for the Commanders?
Nathan, you are a pro at spinning, right? There is nothing you could say, nothing at all that you could say that would make me say, okay, I understand what you're doing, taking a running back at 16.
Thank you.
There is nothing you could say. I will break something. I promise you, I will break something if they take Bijan Robinson at 16. Special running back. He's a very good running back. But name me a running back in the NFL right now who is a difference maker. How many can you name? 3?
Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. McCaffrey, absolutely.
That's it. Okay? There's not... Stop with the running backs in the first round. Even Saquon Barkley was overdrafted. As good as he is.
Oh, well, he was overdrafted because he was, what, 3rd overall?
Yeah, third or something like that.
Yeah, 2nd overall, yeah.
Don't take a running back at 16. Don't take a running back at 48. Don't take a running back at, what's 48 plus 32? 70, whatever their third round pick is. Do not take a running back.
Don't take one within the top 100 is what you're saying.
Within the top 4 rounds. If you want to take a guy in the 5th round, that's fine. You can find guys anywhere. This is not, you can't find quarterbacks anywhere in the draft. You can find running backs anywhere. So if it's a priority, and it may be lying season, and that's what they're doing here, they're just putting that out there to scare people into moving up or whatever. Don't take a running back, please.
All right, Trev, Bashan Robinson's name is on the board at 16. Washington takes him. What's your reaction?
I'm not watching the rest of the draft.
Yeah.
If we're all together somewhere, I'm getting up and walking away. If we're at our homes watching it together, I'm just gonna turn it off. Like I'm with Stoner. You don't need it. You don't need a run because if you draft him at 16, he instantly becomes RB1. Instantly. I'm sorry, but he does. You have to.
Yeah.
There's no way you make him second or third running back. You don't. There's no way.
Yeah.
And then good luck telling B-Rod, yeah, you've been quarterback RB1 until we just took Bijan. You want to be running back 3 now? You're not going to say it to AG. So no, do not take a running back. And you just don't do it. Don't.
I was pissed when they took a running back in the 3rd round last year.
I know.
I stood by it all the way through. Even this year, I said it's still my least favorite pick, and I like Brian Robinson.
I don't care if he's the best player available right there. He's not going to fit. We don't need him. We don't.
The value's not there. Shout out to our man Rio. I personally commented on his tweet earlier this morning. I think he posted it yesterday. But anyways, the sentiment is, yes, Bashan Robinson is the best running back prospect since Saquon Barkley. Okay, absolutely deserving of all the praise and everything. I've watched a lot of him being an Oklahoma Sooner fan. I watch a lot of Big 12 ball. Guy's a stud. Absolutely. The value just isn't there.
No.
A lot of people, in fact, in Rio's comment to it was that wouldn't it be exciting to see a talent like Bashan Robinson in an EB-led offense? Here's the thing. Sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It would be. Yeah. Pachenko, or I think
Pachenko. 7th round running back.
There's no end in that name.
There's no end in it. I know there's no end, but Pachenko is he's a 7th round pick and
got one of these.
Rusher last year. By the way, they have a guy that they took. The Chiefs have a guy they took in the 1st round not too long ago in 2020.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Yep.
Yeah.
Same production as rookie year. So if a 1st rounder, and I get that Bashan Robinson is a better running back on paper or in college, because sometimes that doesn't translate to the NFL.
He played in the Big 12. I mean, come on.
And so I get that he's a better prospect than either one of those, and he could very well rush for 1,600 yards right out the gate. But we have proof on paper right now, whether or not it's a 1st or whether or not it's the 7th round rookie. This is not an offense under EB that I expect them to be pounding the rock with 250 yards or 250 attempts with one guy, 100 attempts with another guy. You're going to get about 140 from probably the lead, 140 to maybe 210 at the top end for your lead rusher. So no, I don't want to waste a pick at 16 for Bashan Robinson. I don't care. I don't care. Count. I'm sorry. He is. Bashan is not too good to pass up.
How do we know that?
Well, I mean, you can say that about anybody. How do you know that? But in terms of value,
was his name in the Heisman race at all this year?
Oh yeah. He was up there. He may have even gone to New York. I don't remember for the president. Yeah, Trev. He's a stud.
I didn't say he wasn't.
Yeah, he's going to be a very.
C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, and Caleb Williams were the finalists. Where was Bashan Robinson on there?
I bet you he was top 10 in the Heisman voting. I know Nathan's looking that up right now. So,
definitely.
But he's a fantastic running back. But you have to prioritize. You have to look at value. Yes. You don't just say Bijan Robinson is a really good running back. Let's just take him as soon as we get the chance. This team has running backs. This team has enough in that position to warrant passing on him, just like if he's available at 16, just like the other 15 teams did in front of him.
I'm telling you, if Christian Gonzalez is there with Bijan Robinson at 16, I'm going Christian Gonzalez.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't think they will. Yeah. I don't think Washington will.
I think we will. I don't think Bijan lasts a 16.
He might not. He might not.
He might not. But if he's there.
I said personally that even if he's there at 16, even he honestly is going to be the best player available. When you're talking, when you're putting it in a way that is not position, it's position agnostic, and you're just literally looking at who's the best player. Bijan Robinson's going to be at the top of the board for a long time because he is just literally the best running back and one of the best players in this draft. He's just so far above the others when it comes to that. The thing is his position value is not there. You absolutely need to take a tier 1 offensive lineman or cornerback over Bijan Robinson.
Or linebacker too.
I would not go linebacker. I would not take a linebacker over Bijan Robinson at 16.
If Will Anderson was there at 16, you wouldn't take him?
It's a tier 1 offensive lineman or tier 1. And this is how I do it. A little peek into my brain. I put these people into tiers. Okay. Because the difference between a guy who's in tier 1, who's like your technically like your second on the board to your 7th probably isn't that big of a jump. So then you can kind of still go into like a need thing, right? Like Jahan Dotson probably wasn't, he was a tier 1 guy for Washington, but he probably wasn't their first, name at the top of tier 1. So, but he was the tier 1 guy, one of their tier 1 wide receivers that they wanted to go after. Same with this tier 1 offensive lineman, tier 1 cornerback. That's who you're going to go for before you go for, Bijan Robinson, in my opinion.
I don't know. Maybe we'll get to it, but go ahead.
So that's my personal. By the way, Heisman, he finished 9th, had 4 first place votes, 12 seconds, and 39 thirds.
Difference maker.
So rushed for 1,580 yards and 18 touchdowns.
The Big 12. There's no defense in the Big 12.
Yeah, that's fair.
However you feel about the Big 12, the guy is a stud.
He is. He will be a stud.
And challenge accepted, Stoner. If Washington takes Bijan Robinson, I will find a way to get you excited about it.
No, you won't.
I will find you a way.
I'm not going to be happy with that.
Oh, by the way, before you move on, can y'all smash that like button for me, please? We only got 21 likes on this thing. That's how our show gets spread around a little bit.
That's how you help. We have Super Chat open. We always appreciate people donating. Of course, we have the Super Chat benefit of if we get to $50 on a single show that you can go to Sky Bar in Lexington, Virginia and get yourself a free appetizer. But we don't like promoting that as like in the sense like we're not begging for your money. Yeah, we appreciate it when you make those donations. But really, the one thing that does help us out, and it doesn't cost you a thing, is hitting that like button.
Yeah,
so
I'm
make
not
sure
above,
that you
begging for that. Hitting the like button. Appreciate it.
So again, with Ron Rivera's comment here, anything is open. Kind of left the question out there as far as does that mean a QB can be taken? And here in our little graphic, I have the QB that I think might actually be available at 16. I at this point, you got to think Stroud and Young are gone. Richardson's probably off the board as well. And so you're left with a Levis.
Yep.
What happens, Trev? QB1 now becomes this rookie quarterback, Levis from Kentucky. What are you thinking?
I'm definitely rioting. I will probably break something like Stoner will. You don't do it. Just don't do it. Do not do it. You're gonna be in quarterback purgatory for at least another 4 years if you do. Like, I just don't do that. Please don't.
I know that man got severely jacked. Have you seen his workout photos?
Taylor Heineke has moxie and he's a great guy. But okay, so I don't know. He is not. I talked about this on Football Garbage Time before we here about all the QB prospects, these top ones, and he's the one I ranked the least ready for NFL experience, no matter what. If you take him at 16, you're literally just saying, "I don't care what happens this season. We're just going to put the best team on the field and play." There's no. It's my last year anyway. New ownership's coming. I might as well make a splash and just choose Will Levis and have an open competition and ride it out. Since our team is young, might as well have our quarterback be young. Don't do it. If you're going to do it, I would rather take Hendon Hooker, who's coming off of an ACL injury, who was pretty much going to win the Heisman before that, probably. Is the most accurate quarterback out of all the prospects. I would take him banking on risking his coming off of an injury than Will Levis.
Okay,
Don't do it.
So trade Will Levis out.
Yes.
And we're still at 16.
Yes.
And Hendon Hooker's available.
Yes.
Are you drafting Hendon Hooker?
I'm drafting him. Yes, I am.
Really?
Yep.
So just QB in general.
Yes.
If
I'll take him.
the QB is available that you like.
If Hendon Hooker is there, yes.
Yeah.
I don't like Anthony Richardson as much as you do, Stoner. I mean, he's built like a Josh Allen, but he will win you games. He's not that accurate. He's not that smart with the ball right now. Maybe a year he'll be ready. Stroud and Young aren't going to last that long. Will Levis, he didn't do anything that really. Why is his name in the conversation anyway? Like, what did he really do this past season? Yeah. He was better the season beforehand. So
yeah, he wasn't that great this past year.
No, he had.
But the year before he was really good.
Like Sam Howell, the year before he was great. His senior season wasn't that great, but he still showed some promise.
Well, so, I don't want to say Will Levis or Hendon Hooker if one of those two guys are available, but if either of those two guys are available, or Anthony Richardson, which he's not going to be, and Bryce and CJ Stroud are not going to be, but let's just say Levis and Hooker are available at 16. I'm not taking that card up to the commissioner. I'm sprinting with that card up to the commissioner. If one of these first round rated QBs are available, you absolutely sprint to the podium to give him the card that says QB from the University of
Tennessee.
Fill in the blank. Yes, 100%. Because you know who's not on your roster right now?
What?
QB1.
Let's go!
Just a reminder, Stoner is not a Sam Howell hater.
That's correct. I'm just not a believer. Week 1, if Sam Howell is QB1 and week 1, he's got 1 billion% of my support. And I will love him and I will support him and I will cheer for him, but I just don't believe he will be. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So if a QB1 is available at 16, you absolutely have to go get that guy.
Go get Hendon Hooker right now, 16. I know people say you can get him later in the draft. Why risk that? You don't know that for sure.
You pull a Jahan Dotson, you take him when you can, sure.
Yeah, maybe you move back a couple of times and he's still available at 26 or something like that, if that's what you end up doing. But I'm moving up for Anthony Richardson.
Stop it.
Whatever it takes, whatever they figure out where that guy is.
I'm not going that far. I'm staying put at 16.
Anthony Richardson. Trev, you talked about it earlier in the show.
What?
You complained about how you don't have a quarterback. You don't have your quarterback on this roster. Right. Now you have a chance to go get a quarterback in the first round. And I know it's not Lamar, right? He's unproven.
But
he's a first rounder. But they've been graded as first rounders.
Outside of CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, these quarterbacks could fall anywhere, and I'd rather stay put. They're not good enough for me to trade up and go get. Now, if it was CJ Stroud and Bryce Young we're talking about, I'm trading up.
Okay, so why not?
But for the rest of the guys, I'm staying. We're at 16. I'm staying pat. We'll be all right. We're gonna get one of them.
Will Levis is 6'4", 230.
And what were his stats?
Big dude.
I don't know, but I will say that.
Look up, Nathan. Look up his stats from last year. Touchdowns and picks. Tell me that.
On one particular website, I see here that he's a plus starter in the NFL. That he's being evaluated as a plus starter. No, look,
NFL comparison. NFL gave him, by the way, was Jay Cutler.
Yeah, you want
Hey.
to trade up to go get Jay Cutler? Okay. How's that
Yeah.
working out for you?
That was a very successful
yeah.
career.
Jay Cutler was pretty good for many years, unless he was facing D'Angelo Hall.
Sexy
in the
Rexy
first
took him
quarter.
to the Super Bowl. Did Jay Cutler do that?
No,
All right,
but he
I
did pretty
didn't
well.
think so. I didn't think he did.
So Levis's stats his senior year here: 65% completion percentage, 2,400 yards, 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Year before last, that Stoner said was even better. He's not wrong there. 66% completion percentage, 2,800 yards, 24 touchdowns, 13 interceptions.
No, I'm not trading up for a guy like that.
We've seen this kid for
Come on.
5 years on those videos of his release. He's got the quickest release I've ever seen.
We've been
He's got
hearing
a rocket for an arm, and he's 6'4", and he's 230 pounds.
We've been talking about C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young since they started throwing the football for respective schools.
Yeah.
Will Levis is in the conversation after his senior year.
That's not true. Like I was just saying,
he came in this season
high
with
school when he's that guy. He's that guy. You probably don't realize that it was Will Levis that you saw. He's that guy who go back there and he just throws rockets, and you were like, "Whoa, what a quick release!" And then it turns out, oh, that turned into Will Levis.
And it turned to a pick six with a quick release too, didn't it? Yeah. So
I
don't care.
I don't know. I'm not a great QB evaluator, but
Yeah,
everybody
say that.
Trust me, I'm not a good QB evaluator.
That's a shocker, Stoner, given that you're going to trade up for Richardson
Will Levis. I can't believe
or Will
Hey.
Levis.
Look,
Running
I'm
to
We're
it.
at 16.
I'm just being honest with you all. I'm not very.
You were desperate
better
for
than-
a QB.
I'm better than you two as a QB evaluator. I know that much. I'm just saying I'm not
16.
very good at it.
We don't need to draft up for Will Levis or Anthony Richardson.
I didn't. Anthony Richardson.
You
That
do.
one you're gonna have to trust
Anthony,
me on.
he's gonna go in the top 10.
And struggle. He'll go up for
Sure.
the Colts. And
He might go to Colts. He might go to Seattle, so he doesn't have that pressure. to start. I know, but he can
They'll
sit
draft
behind
Bijan
him.
Robinson. They need a running back. They don't have one.
This is a QB that is going to have to sit, and this is why I don't understand. And when it comes to why this doesn't make sense to me for so many reasons, and oh my Lord, Stoner, you got my head hurting right now.
Yes. Why doesn't it not make sense?
This we've talked over and over again about how this is Ron is staking his reputation right now on Sam Howell, a second-year starter, one game under his belt, fifth round pick, as everyone likes to point out.
He's
and all
making
this
my
other
point
stuff.
for me, Trev. Go ahead.
And so you're trying to tell me he's going to tie his future to a rookie? It's not going to happen. The bettors have already kind of put out 7.5 is the line for Washington in wins. You take a rookie QB, I'm smashing the under.
Look, he doesn't have to start year one. Here's the point.
Oh my,
Nathan.
So why are you trading not to do this if he doesn't have to start year one?
Because Ron can walk into that new owner's office and he can say, I just drafted our quarterback. Now
you're also in your fourth year. You know what's going to happen, Stoner? And this is why I'm not behind getting a QB at 16. Yeah, finally.
It's right. It's true though.
What I cannot get behind is pulling another Dwayne Haskins and taking a QB at the twilight of your tenure with this team, and that QB gets passed off. If Will Levis or Hooker or somebody, even a Sam Howell, who if he doesn't, when we're talking into next season and Ron Rivera is not here, I don't want my next head coach saddled with trying to prove that the former team, the former organization, the former front office, that their pick was wrong. I don't want to go through that. You want to start fresh next year. And I shared the comment earlier. I don't know who said that. But next year's draft class, so much better. So much better as far as QB prospects.
Yeah, why did we talk about this last year when there were way better QB prospects than this year too?
Last year there was not better prospects.
Last year was
god awful.
Was one of the worst in years.
There's a reason why Sam Howell fell to the 5th round. Okay, I am a Sam Howell believer. I'm not Stoner.
Pickett
I
was the first QB at 19.
I'm a howler,
that's right.
and I'm still not. But I'm not. So I'm not. And it's not. Me being a howler isn't why I'm not taking it 16.
Yeah,
One,
it is.
no, it absolutely is not. It is absolutely not. It's again, Ron Rivera is. If we're saying he's not really going to tie his hopes and prayers to Sam Howell, then why would he do it with a rookie? Where he honestly he would. I'm telling you, I would put $100 right now.
Yeah.
If they draft a QB at 16, I will put $100 on the under if it stays at 7.5.
No, he's not going to play.
I don't care. I'm smashing the under.
Okay, but listen, he is what drafting Will Levis or Hooker or whomever. He's what's called insurance. He's your security blanket. He's the guy that you can bring into the meeting with the new owner. You're going to go, Mr. Harris, I'm Ron Rivera, okay? Let's role play here. I'm Ron Rivera, and I'm going to talk to Josh Harris, and we just finished 6-11. Is that how it works now? Yeah, 6-11, right?
Yeah.
And Howell was not the guy. And I'm going to bring in Will Levis with me to the meeting, to my exit meeting with Josh Harris. Mr. Harris, this is why you need to keep me. We drafted this guy in the first round. I saw him every day. This is the future of this team, and I can build him. That's why you need to keep me, because of Will Levis.
No way, dog.
He's your security blanket. He's your buffer from getting fired. So that's why he could. That's why he could draft him at 16.
It's not a buffer. It is a clear sign you are fired. Move along. You're telling me like you believe in him so much, and he's our future, Mr. New Owner. You got to give me one more year because this guy is going to be it. But I didn't start him during a 6-11 season.
Right?
No.
Because
Stoner.
Because Sam Howell was supposed to be the guy, and I'm paying Jacoby Brissett $8 million to back him up. So he's going to try and get us out of the hole.
I am not trading
Will Levis.
I'm not trading up to get a quarterback.
Now, having said all of that,
yes,
I hope to God they don't draft a quarterback at 16. That's me. I put a little bit of that on just to get the argument going because I knew both of you were against it at 16. But I could see it happening. I don't want it. I want an offensive lineman or a corner.
All right. Speaking of those, let's get to something probably a little bit more mundane. Let's throw out. I'm going to throw out a couple names. If you guys might not like them or like somebody else, just wait a while because it probably name's going to come up. Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback from Mississippi State.
I'll be honest. I want an offensive lineman.
Wow.
I'll pick him
because I've been told this is a super deep draft at corner. So you can get really good corners in the second and third round.
No, okay.
Emmanuel Forbes.
No,
never heard of that dude.
He had 6 pick sixes this past year.
I'm sure he's a really good corner, and he's gonna go in the first round.
I don't like that notion because we kind of did that with the BSJ stuff, and look where that got us. If there's a stud corner available, you take him. You can't just go off saying it's a deep cornerback draft because they're not all studs.
Well, that's what they're implying when they say deep corner is that cornerback.
There's a lot of starters,
studs, all the way into the third round.
We need a stud, not just a starter.
Yeah.
Kendall Fuller's a starter. He's not a stud.
I'm not breaking anything if Emmanuel Forbes is selected.
All right, here we go.
I will say the first thing I'll say is who the F is that? And then Trev is gonna say he had 6 pick sixes this year, and I'm gonna say, oh, cool, okay.
He's a dog.
You can sell me. It's kind of like last year. I wanted Olave.
Yes.
And they traded down. I said they have to pick wide receiver. And they said Jahan Dotson. I said, I've heard of the dude, but I don't know a thing about him.
You were excited.
And then you learn about him, and you're like, all right, I'm in. And he turned out okay. That's the way I'll be when they pick a corner. I'll be like, all right, I've heard the name, but I don't know nothing about the dude.
So
hopefully he'll be great.
giving
Go
you out
for
a
it.
couple other names then. Joey Porter Jr., Penn State.
Yes.
I mean, just by name alone, you got to draft him. I mean, Joey Porter
Yeah.
was a fantastic defender. Yeah.
Yeah. Devin Witherspoon, cornerback, Illinois.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Stud.
I'd be happy with any of these three so far.
Yep.
One that has been mocked by a couple people lately from CBS Sports here, Will Brinson from CBS Sports, Deontay Lee and Nate Tice from The Athletic, Brian Branch, safety from Alabama.
Ah.
Ooh, a safety at 16.
From Alabama too, though. Not just any safety. That's just
Well, Landon Collins was a safety from Alabama.
Yeah, and he's a Pro Bowler, dude. Stop it.
Easy killer. All right.
Stop
it. I mean, I know everyone loves to do this whole best player available, but when it comes to 16, if a safety is the best player available, I'm probably skipping over that and going to the next best player available. And if he's got a CB or an OL next to his name, I'm taking him. But safety is kind of like taking a running back. Right now, it's a little bit of a luxury. You've got solid pieces there.
Well, if it's a hybrid safety.
Okay. Now you've piqued my interest.
Is
he's a guy who can play some linebacker, but how big is this guy? Is he like
corner a little bit too, like
Brandon,
McCain did?
So like a McCain? Yeah. I mean, you could probably sell me on it. The only thing you can't sell me on in this draft is wide receiver or running back at 16. Anything else, I can probably be sold. Tight end, you can probably sell me. O-line or CB, it's a no-brainer.
For the record, Brian Branch, 6 foot even, 190 pounds.
Oh, he's a little guy.
Athletic score 67 according to the NFL Next Gen Stats.
Nah, we good over here.
Yeah, he's a straight corner. He's a straight, he's not hitting anybody. He's playing in the box.
Strong.
Yeah. Roger saying Brian Branch is a do-it-all DB, slot, boundary, free safety, strong safety. He can play every position.
All right.
Well then.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm not going to
another name, anything. Uptown Dre taking the next name here. Deontay Banks, Maryland, 6'2".
And a guy ran like a 4.2 something or 4.32 or something.
Yeah, he's a speedy guy.
Yeah, I'll take speedy guys at corner. Absolutely.
All right.
Need those guys.
Ooh, look at this right here.
What we got? We got here. Branch is Minka Fitzpatrick clone. Could be the perfect curl replacement if you need to open up cap space for Lamar.
Well,
you're not opening cap space. He doesn't make any money.
Gus Bus, I'm not trying to undersell.
Yeah, we don't know
Branch here. I'm literally just reading off the stats as presented by NFL. Like I didn't read off anything else. In fact, I read Roger's comment. How can I undersell the guy when I read off Roger's comment saying he was a do-it-all DB? I'm not trying to undersell the guy. Obviously, I feel Alabama guys tend to do pretty well, so we'll see. I'm just giving out some names for the gents here.
Have you given me any offensive linemen?
I'm about to. Thank you for mentioning that. Osiris Torrance, offensive guard from Florida.
Oh, I love that dude, of course.
Well,
if you love him, I know him a little bit. So I've seen him play, and he's a stud. He's a big dude too, man. And this team could use, even though they signed Wiley to play right tackle, and they have Cosme moving to right guard, they could put him in at left guard. Another one of Ron's comments that we didn't even touch was him talking about how Chris Paul and Sadiq Charles are going to battle for that left guard spot.
And Andrew Norwell.
And he had to be reminded that Andrew Norwell was still on this team. Okay, Did he not have to do that? Did he not have to say? It was
a fun moment.
that was
kind of coming soon.
So he's getting cut for sure. Which I don't think anyone's going to cry over that. Maybe him and his wife might, but none of the fans will.
Another name. This is a name that I've seen kind of sliding as of late, or at least, and we're at the point now where people are doing so many mock drafts. You're going to see a lot of movement. That's not going to. It's kind of like the first mock drafts are all blown out of proportion, and don't even worry about those. Now people are over analyzing things. I think that's what they're doing with this guy right here, Peter Skoronski,
I like
Northwestern
him,
offensive tackle.
Yeah.
So the reason why I think people are overthinking this is he's got short arms, and so the people are starting to think that he's going to slide. If you look at the tape, the dude's a beast. Now maybe the short arms end up being a little bit of a problem, but what if they take him at 16?
I'm fine with that, bro.
What happens if you take him at 16? A tackle.
What do you mean?
Well, where does he fit?
He battles with Lucas. Lucas has been a depth guy. He's been an emergency starter for us all year. He's not.
Stoner's going to tell you your first round pick has got to be a starter.
Your first round pick is an instant starter.
He replaced Lucas.
Who's Lucas?
Cornelius Lucas, the starting right tackle. Because if
your starting right tackle is Wiley, the guy you signed from Kansas City.
Yeah, they were fine. Well, where's he going to go? Well, then you got to get rid of him.
What if you take him and because of the short arms, you put him at left guard, Stoner?
Oh, that's true.
Okay, if you're going to tell me that you're getting him to play guard, yeah, then I'm 16's a little okay. I mean, I'd take.
You just said Osiris Torrance was the guy you're going to take.
Yeah, take him. You definitely take him.
If they say he's better suited to play guard, but if he's tackle, then you got to lose somebody, and we all know who that is. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to take a tackle, then you're gonna lose somebody.
Look,
yeah, a lot of people going no guard at 16, so that includes Osiris. Let's move to the other side of the ball. Unless you guys like anybody like Darnell Wright, offensive tackle from Tennessee, and I'm looking at some of these other names that are kind of being picked there. Broderick Jones, offensive tackle from Georgia.
There's a guy named. I forgot.
Is he going to be available at 16? Broderick Jones? I thought he's going top 10, but he might be. Who knows?
Broderick Jones. He's mocked here at 19 in the one that I'm looking at currently.
Okay.
All right, let's move back to the other side. How about they take an edge rusher? Maybe someone like Lucas Van Ness, Iowa edge rusher.
I don't know him.
If
Iowa, no, I'm good.
An edge rusher from Iowa.
I'm good.
Man, you gotta move some things around on your roster. If you do that, you got to trade Montez or something. You just can't have two stud starters, and you can't be drafting replacements for guys who are on your roster already
in the first round.
That just doesn't seem like a way to build a roster, Ron, is to draft a guy to replace somebody the next year. You're supposed to be drafting a guy to plug a hole or to go in and start right away. First round, second round, third round. Those should be automatic day one starters, not backup, not rotational guys. So that's why I would not draft an edge rusher at 16, unless you trade Montez. Different story.
So you'd be out on Nolan Smith or another one of the names that was here was Felix AU, Kansas State edge rusher.
Yeah. Like I said, would you guys be okay with drafting an edge rusher who plays 30% of the plays at 16?
That's what I'm saying. Like, unless there was another Chase Young or a potential Montez Sweat or a Kayvon Thibodeau or somebody like that, then maybe. But all these guys you're mentioning are like the best rushers on their team.
First round picks.
Yeah.
Could be really good. I'm just saying you guys know me.
I love the edge rusher.
I'm pro, like if they take an edge rusher, a Nolan Smith, or one of the ones that are kind of one of the premier guys, like tier one, maybe you don't want a tier two guy in the first round. But a tier one, if they take a tier one edge rusher, I'm a happy camper. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. It does signal. It absolutely signals the end. It probably also signals what they think of Chase Young as far as his health and whether or not he can return to power. It could also signal that we see Montez Sweat traded away at some point in the draft. I'm fine with an edge rusher. It's not where I would necessarily go. Now, I'm a big fan of Roger Smith's suggestion here, but that is definitely the crimson and cream coming out here. Antoine Harrison moving back, getting him. That's another tackle, though. So
don't just whatever they do at 16, don't pick a guy who is not going to start from day one.
Contribute.
That's all I ask. And so that means don't take a receiver, don't take a running back, don't take a defensive tackle, don't take a defensive end. Those are who you don't want them taken.
Safety.
16 needs to be a guy who starts day one and plays every play, period.
Okay, last position group for me to pick, because a lot of people are clamoring for it. There's mock drafts that are coming this way. A guy like Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah, or a Meyer as a tight end gets selected at 16. Could fit the bill there, Stoner, for you as far as a day one starter. Dalton Kincaid to Washington at 16, sure. Stoner. You're loving that?
I'm not loving it, but I wouldn't hate it. I classify these draft picks into two categories. I'm going to break something. I'm not going to break something. If you draft a tight end at 16, I'm not breaking anything. So everything in the house is safe. But yeah, I'd be fine with that. That's not my preference. But if you draft a tight end at 16, hey, more weapons for Sam Howell to be successful, or Lamar Jackson.
I'm with you. And I think that's one of the positions that you could risk adding to, because it's really no threat to anybody else in that position group. I mean, come on, Logan Thomas, really? I could beat Logan Thomas at tight end.
Yeah.
And then the other guys behind him, we all could do that. I mean, it is what it is. So, like, that's one that you could definitely plug in and start day one to help Sam grow, along with the other weapons we have. Because we don't have – I'm sorry, Nathan. I know you hate it, but –
tight end's a great position. I'm a big fan of the position. I love it. But at 16, guys, we just passed up on the best running back prospect since Saquon Barkley, and we're going to take a tight end that doesn't even match the tight end that I desperately wanted to keep out of the NFC, and hasn't really done NFC East. And he hasn't really done much out in Atlanta. And you guys are going to take Kincaid or Meyer.
Yeah,
you know, I'm good with Darnell Washington at 47. That's fine. You know, if one of these other ones falls down to 47, then, a lot of people mock at first.
He's there, though.
Yeah, but what if he's not there at 47?
Then, okay, you move on. You do something else, but you're not taking a tight end at 16.
No, we're taking a tight end at 16 if it's there.
I can't with you two.
Trev.
What up?
Logan Thomas, he's fine. Cole Turner is a 5th-round pick.
Yep.
John Bates was a 4th-round pick.
Yep.
Armani Rogers was an undrafted player.
Yep. Eli Wolf retired.
Curtis Hodges was an undrafted player. I think he's still technically on the roster. You know, he has a contract. Those are some they have some promise in that tight end room. You put all of their skills together in a basket, and you've got Dalton Kincaid.
Thank you.
Or you've got Michael Myers. Is it Michael Myers, right?
Michael Myers, yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
Michael
you
Myers.
Got the Halloween dude, right?
Yeah.
That's who you have. You have a difference maker. Those guys
Thank
are
you.
difference makers.
Thank you.
Logan and them are not. And if you go into camp with those 4 guys as your tight ends, you're not going to be crying, but you're not going to have a difference maker at tight end.
No, and you're going to make it way easy for defense to play defense on us. There's not going to be over the middle threat. There's not going to be red zone threat. There's just going to be Terry, Curtis, and Jahan Dotson. Well, if you put everybody on them, who are you going to throw it to?
Yeah.
Nobody. You got to get a stud tight end.
They have promise. Okay, those guys have promise. The Cole Turners and the Armani Rogers, they have promise.
Right.
But Dalton Kincaid, Mike Myers,
Darnell Washington.
Darnell. Those guys have 10 times the talent that anybody on Washington's roster has.
Yep.
So if they're available, I don't hate it.
Because they're true tight ends.
Yeah.
They're not
So
makeshift like Kyle Pitts.
just going off of next gen stats, NFL next, that's just what I have up, people, as far as
Okay.
when you're asking why I'm going off this. Dalton Kincaid gets an 88.
Hey.
All right. Okay. Which is good. That's good. It's green, right? Darnell Washington, 85. Luke Musgrave, 84. Michael Mayer, 83. Sam Laporta, 82. Tucker Kraft, 80. Is the drop from 88 to 80. We can go over significant, like some of the actual stats and stuff as far as what they're doing. And that's something we'll have to do later as we approach the draft.
Yeah.
At pick 16 to pick 47, going 8 points down on NFL next gen stats.
Mhm.
Is that really that significant to you that you're taking a Dalton Kincaid at 16 over Osiris Torrance, over one of these stud cornerbacks? This tight end class, there's a lot of good ones that are out here.
Okay,
I
so
just
now
don't
you're
see
saying
taking a tight end at 16 makes
so now
any
you're saying the
sense.
tight end class is deep, and so you don't necessarily have to get one at 16 because you can still get one later.
No,
Yes.
but true.
I'm not
but
saying don't draft one.
But
I'm saying don't take one at 16.
But what if those tight ends are the same thing like John Bates? They're good at blocking but not catching, or they're good at catching and not route running, or they're good at catching and blocking and not, like, I want somebody who has a total package that can block, catch, route run. Like, we don't a true tight end. I don't want these. Well, because 80 and 80 doesn't sound like it's a huge difference, but it's a huge difference. Because the guy at 47 probably lasted that long because he's a great pass blocker, run blocker, but he doesn't have the great hands as a pass catcher. That's why he fell to 47. But if we got somebody like a Dalton Kincaid or Michael Mayer or Darton who can do all three and they're right there at 16, I don't want to risk finding someone like that in the third or fourth or fifth round and having like a Cole Turner. Yeah, he did use, but like Nevada, like, of course he stood out there as Nevada, but like, I don't want to bank on that if there's someone right there that we could get, rather than saying, well, we could always get one in a later round. Nah, we can't get a Dalton Kincaid in the 5th round. We need him right now.
Yeah.
And tight end is one of those positions that we need help with, for real.
Again, I'm not against taking a tight end. I am
16?
I'm not at 16. The value's not there. Again, you guys were passing up on Bashan Robinson, who is literally probably the best prospect in this entire, like, again, position agnostic, the best player, and we're not taking him.
No.
But we're
because
going to take,
you have a running back room.
Because you have 2 or 3.
You don't have a tight end.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
We have 0 tight end, dog. Think about it. We don't.
Oh, I don't disagree. Again, the tight end room is not great. Okay, I'm not saying the tight end room is amazing, and we need to
let's address it through the draft when we have a chance instead of.
So why are you so against taking a quarterback at 16 then?
The quarterbacks are not worth taking at 16. The ones that are going to be available at 16 are not worth taking at 16.
Says you.
Dalton
Kincaid,
says
me. You asked me the question.
Dalton
of course
Kincaid,
it says me.
Kincaid and Anthony Richardson are there at 16. Who are you taking, Nathan?
What's the name? Kincaid and who?
And Anthony Richardson. Who are you taking?
Oh God, man, of course you had to pick Richardson.
He could last there.
The most exciting player that's
okay, Will Levis,
not Bashan Robinson. Will Levis. Oh, yeah, I'm passing on Will Levis. That dude's got like his recent muscle pictures. He's a Quinn. Hendall Hooker, I think, is going to be available in the later rounds. So
all right, so then Anthony Richardson then or
Richardson's the only one I even kind of remotely go, okay, wait a minute. This guy, he has a really flipping high ceiling. The problem is his floor is god awful. So,
all right. So
who's he taking? He didn't say he was taking yet.
Kincaid or Richardson. If I have to take one of the two, I'm taking Richardson.
Yeah, of course you are.
That's really an easy choice. It's not difficult. I just don't. Now I got a clip of me saying I'm going to take Richardson at pick 16, and someone's going to clip it up. By the way, real quick, I want to while we're on the tight end thing, I think it's so overblown that EB and his offense favors the tight end.
I agree.
It's simply not true. Okay. Travis Kelce is an absolute stud and absolutely worth targeting. And that's why he gets a lot of targets and a lot of yards. But when you're actually looking at the offense, when Tyreek Hill was there, when they had a number one receiving option, Tyreek Hill was the number one receiving option
Correct.
over Travis Kelce.
Correct.
Okay. You have Juju Smith-Schuster, who had nearly 1,000 yards, and he would be probably wide receiver 4 on this team.
And that's my point. We need somebody to take the pressure off of them. And
I'm just trying to point out, a lot of people are like, you draft a tight end at 16 because it's so important to this offense. And it's just simply,
we need a tight end before he was here.
Right. If you can get a Travis Kelce, which even Travis Kelce, for the record, wasn't exactly drafted in the first round. So just a reminder there for people. Like you just don't need to draft a tight end in the first round. You just don't need to do that.
True. I agree. I agree that you don't need to. But if I'm sitting there and draft day comes along and it comes to pick 16 and Washington goes up there with the card and it's Peter Skoronski. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah, Skoronski from
and
Northwestern.
You know what we'll all do? We'll all go. Cool. All right, time to go to bed. This guy.
Yeah, it's not exciting.
Okay? Now, they go up there and they put Dalton Kincaid on that card.
Ooh, who we picking next?
Another weapon for Sam Howell. This offense, EB's going to eat all day. This is going to be amazing. I can't wait for the season. When this training camp get here, that's the difference. It's more exciting from a fan's point of view. From a roster building, you go offensive line or corner.
Yeah, you do.
But from a fan's point of view, I want to see him take a tight end or a Will Levis or a Hendon Hooker at 16. And then we'll all be just jumping and screaming.
If we take Will Levis.
If they take Will Levis,
yo,
to be honest, I might break something. I might fit into break something category.
All right. If we're doing another draft day where the Commanders invite us out, I'm going to make sure that I take all my expensive belongings away from Stoner before that pick comes out. So we do have a lot more draft content coming up, and we will be doing a mock draft in the coming days. The plan actually was to do one this week. We changed course with all the sale news coming out, with the Ron Rivera's comments. We figured that took precedence, but we will get some more draft content out there. Let us know some of the names that you're looking at. We've seen several in the comment section. We appreciate everybody who's made those comments. Make sure that if you've made a comment, that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, because we got some more good content coming from you. If you're a Nationals fan, you're going to want to check out our interview with Pete Medhurst as the Washington Nationals start their season. And, there's some promise there. It might not be a great season, but Pete will give you some hope for what to watch for. All that's right here on Ref the District. We're live every Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at 7:30 Eastern. So catch us next week with episode 115. But until next time,
go get Lamar.
Go get Will Levis.
Be a fan. God dang you, Stoner. Be a fan.